Every fighter needs a cause. Every cause needs a fighter. The Sumud Podcast is sponsored by The Karate Attorney, fighting for justice inside and outside the courtroom. Visit karateattorney.com or follow on Instagram at Karate Attorney to learn more.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're living in, it's time for Sumud. All about humanity, so this right here for everyone. Uplift, amplify, empower everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're living in, it's time for Sumud.
Visit sumudpod.com to subscribe and connect with us on social media. You can also support our work by contributing monthly on the Support Us page. Even $10 a month helps us continue amplifying Palestinian voices and those in solidarity. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Ehab, the Technical Director of the Sumud Podcast. This episode will be our final release of 2025. Here at the pod, it felt important to close the year by centering the work of the Gaza Soup Kitchen and honoring what they represent. This episode is different in its delivery and approach. It features real footage of the Gaza Soup Kitchen team continuing their work under extremely difficult circumstances, filmed and provided by photographer members of the team themselves. The YouTube version of this episode will feature subtitled footage recorded by those photographers. What you'll see reflects survival, dignity, and collective responsibility. It shows what Sumud looks like in practice. Even in the midst of devastation, our people continue to protect life and community. We'll be back on January 8, 2026. This is Palestinian Resilience. This is Palestinian Sumud.
Welcome to the podcast, Hani.
Well, thank you for having me again. It's good to be with you.
Thank you for joining us again. Just for those listening and watching, this episode is a very special and unique episode focusing on the Gaza Soup Kitchen. I encourage you to watch Hani's first episode with us, specifically related to him and his experiences. So Hani, my first question for you really is, how did you start the Gaza Soup Kitchen and why did you do it?
It started because we, as Palestinians, saw aid get politicalized quickly by Israel, stopping UNRWA from delivering aid to people like my family. So we pivoted to hack the aid process in Gaza and started a mutual aid response. It didn't start as a kitchen. My brother, Chef Mahmoud, in early February, he said to my mom, hey, I'm going to cook for the community. And he just got large pots, like the pots that, if you remember the old weddings, they cook in the street and you smell all the meat and all that stuff. So he got these three and literally foraged his first meal from in between canned potatoes and peas, some tomato paste in Beit Lahia. That's where we started. That's the breadbasket of Gaza City. And we had access to some crop at the time because was 3 months into the genocide. So the zucchinis, he would stuff some rice in, but they were the size of a pumpkin. And Mahmoud, being a business guy, he saw a guy with like 500 kilos. He said, I'll buy everything. And remember, it was winter, so food did not go bad fast. There is no electricity, just a guy cooking in the neighborhood. And the one pivotal thing he decided to do is hire his friend to take photos. That is where we pivoted. He was like, hey, Hani, I hired this guy to take photos. Mahmoud was like, this is insane. Like, this guy is barely surviving the genocide. The Israelis just abducted him. And he's telling me he hired a photographer. He literally called his friend Ishaq. Ishaq used to fry falafels and gave him a camera and said, can you take pictures? And lo and behold, Ishaq is an amazing photographer. And he became the source to document the famine, the first wave of the famine in Gaza City, and also lift up Americans here who are like, hey, we want to help Gaza. And these photos became our calling card.
So what obstacles did you face in creating the Gaza Soup Kitchen? Because if you think about it, for us in the diaspora, what we're seeing on film, it's almost impossible to get anything done. How are you able to accomplish it? And we know that you're getting pushback through every direction, specifically from the Israelis. How are you able to pull it off?
Absolutely. So the biggest challenges were Israel had cut off all the telecommunication, and it bombed or closed all the banks in Gaza. How are we supposed to do anything in Gaza without a phone line that's reliable? It will go a week where I can't reach my family. And, we leaned into our Palestinian resourcefulness, which is criminal. I hope nobody else has to suffer these conditions. I hope all the tips and the hacks we've developed remain in Gaza and never be used another place because of how horrible and how horrifying the genocide is. So it began with my sister, who's Nireen, who said, hey, I found a way to get money to Gaza if you do X, Y, and Z. And we did. We figured out how to get money to Gaza, originally like $500, $1,000 max. And we sustained it. We kept doing it. We get in water, and sometimes we pump water using solar panels. But it was also about overcoming these hurdles. I'm also talking about Gaza in an uplifting way. We, for example, the photographers are keen in taking dignified photos, but also show photos of the need. We're not going to be like saying everything is fine and dandy. We would do a disservice for the Palestinian cause and for the needs in Gaza. But also we have to show the need as well. And the uplifting side, meaning you will see our crew with gloves, sometimes masks, to make sure the food looks, in Arabic, they say the eye eats before the mouth. And that's really what the philosophy was. Sometimes when you think about people in a terrible situation like Gaza, you see how haram, poor little things, they're eating garbage. And we wanted to elevate that while it was really hard. And we had very little. We were being bombed literally. Many videos we've documented where bullets and shells are flying near our kitchens. Some of our kitchens have been bombed, sometimes as warning, sometimes as like, that's it, you're gone. There's a time in Sheikh Radwan, I believe, there's a school where we serve meals. That's when the bombing began just a few months ago. And that's where the team felt they were under threat. And that's a message. So they moved further, still within the Gaza city, but south of where they were. And then a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, Chef Fatin at the beach camp goes through the cycle where they bombed too close. And we have videos of that incident. In fact, there's a video of Chef Fatin showing the shells that was bombed and the people just describing the incident. Within 2 days, she moved, and we started moving our teams away from the danger zone. All Gaza is a danger zone. In fact, wherever they moved, Israel was still bombing. So we've moved pretty much 90% of our team outside of Gaza City, and I could suddenly sleep better at night. And my remaining brother, Muhammad, he wanted to stay. I felt he wanted to connect with my brother Mahmoud and just be the last man standing. And here, 2 years later, we're still standing, and we've never dreamed that we want to stay open for 2 years. This was supposed to be a mutual aid response, and now it became a bigger actor in a way that was designed to be.
I mean, you have the folks on the ground wearing the logo of the Gaza Soup Kitchen. How amazing is that, and how did you pull that off even?
It's insane. It began with a young Pakistani woman. Her name is Arij, studying in Europe, and she's not a graphic designer by profession, but she said, hey, I want to help. I'm so heartbroken over Gaza, and she just designs a logo, and it meant a lot. That logo became like our flag, and people see it because you could have 20 kitchens in Gaza, but people are not going to be recognizing them. They're not going to be like, who's this team? So the logo started being inspired by the watermelon, the icon, the symbolism. But also simple. This is a Gaza Soup Kitchen. You could be in the Israeli government and say like, yeah, soup and kitchen in Gaza. It makes sense. You don't have to explain it. And that trended, as we've seen from GoFundMe when we documented this. The hardest part was finding a print shop to print these logos. And even our merch partner, Safar Apparel, were baffled, like, how did they pull this off? And I don't really know. I mean, I was happy that we got the paper together. But the next day they said, hey, let's get some t-shirts, let's get some hats. No hoodies in Gaza. We could not do the hoodies one, but we also get vests. It also helps identify the team for the staff so they can know who's helping and who's not helping. And frankly, it also allows people to see these are our photos because a lot of people were posting things in social media and they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. But when they see our logo in there, that gives them credibility. And also it is a makeshift response, but it doesn't have to look sloppy or cheap. And the team started, because, we did not somebody take pictures of our work and then say, hey, we did this. When we have the logos, they become unusable to anybody else but our team. And we struggled. They said they want to get a car. They couldn't get a car because they needed one for the hospital. They couldn't get to the hospitals. Again, remember, we're small. We're not trying to build legacy or kingdom. We just want to solve problems. And the best gift is we hired people who came from a business background who really want to solve problems and know how to deal with folks. And that came to be very helpful for Chef Mahmoud, who would just buy stuff and then wait a day later and it becomes very expensive or not available. When Kamal and One Hospital called, he had diapers, he had baby formula, he gave it all away, blankets, just because of the generosity of our donors who positioned us to be able to send as much money to Gaza. And when we do that, is, hey, I have money now, I'll buy it from you this minute. And then we would either cook it in our kitchen or get it to the hospital or, give it to a family that is in need. One of the main reasons our kitchen kept operating in June and July, where everything shut down. There's no food in Gaza. Mahmoud and his family, they're a band of brothers, 4 brothers, and they're there. So they feel like they're a unit, so nobody can jump them if they have food. So they would go and get some fasulia and lentils where everybody's like, how are you getting food? There is no food. 2 things can be true. There is no food in Gaza, but we're really good at sourcing it from whatever we can find within Gaza. This is not to say that it was easy. We had 10 kitchens. We could only operate 4 or 5 of them until things slightly started to improve in terms of food security, not aid. So Israel played this game where they said, food's for free. No, we're going to get you to feel some pain. So they allowed commercial trucks to go in. So most NGOs are reliant on their trucks being allowed in. But models like ours is like, hey, if you have it in Gaza, we'll deploy the resources, buy it, and give it to people. It's not ideal, but it's what we have right now. So that's why you see we've taken over the YMCA in Gaza and turned it into a distribution site where we trolled the GHF, where we said, hey, we helped 1,000 families today. Guess how many Palestinians were killed? 0. If you were doing the same thing at the GHF side, I think they would have killed 1.5 Palestinian for every aid distribution we've done. It didn't need to feel degrading or insulting and have some rednecks with guns make you feel worthless and unseen.
Hani, we're going to show a lot of footage from the various individuals, the volunteers, the photographers, the videographers, but those labels don't do them any justice. They are a ray of hope, of light, of perseverance. They are storytellers, without question. So every video that I've seen so far, even on your social media, they are telling us a story. They are doing it with a smile to an extent, but they are telling us a story. Can you tell us a little bit about each individual, specifically Mai, Leena, Khaled, and Omar?
Yes, so Mai is just that amazing young woman in America. She would be glued to her TikTok and just doing some silly videos. But she's really an instrumental person at the Gaza Soup Kitchen. She's just young, but she has a lot of experience capturing moments, stories. She also likes to be in front of the camera. Sometimes she gets somebody like Khaled to take videos of her where she's presenting, here is the food package. We're going to put the cooking on.
صباح الخير يا حلوين، كيف حالكم؟ معكم مي المدهون من مؤسسة الغازا سوف كيتشن. أنا مي حابة أخدكم معي بمبادراتنا اللي بنعملها كل يوم في الغازا سوب كيتشن. طبعا زي ما انتم شايفين أنا لسه عاملة صحيت، اتوضيت وصليت وشربت القهوة تبعتي، فرقيت استنى لحد ما يجي الموعد اللي بننطلق فيه على الموقع اللي بكون بستنانا فيه، اللي هي المبادرة الأولى اللي بنعملها، اللي بكون بستنانا فيه شاحنات المية. حنروح إحنا والفريق اللي بيتحرك مع شاحنات المي ونوريكم إيش بصير معنا في مبادراتنا لليوم. أنا لازم قبل ما يبلش يومي أجي وأصبح على ستي. صباح الخير يا ستي.
صباح النور يا ستي.
كيف حالك؟
الحمد لله والله، نهاركم سعيد بالصلاة على النبي
عليه الصلاة والسلام. الله زي ما انتم شايفين أنا هلقيت طلعت، هلقيت تقريبا الساعة 6:30. طبعا زي ما انتم شايفين لسه فيش حدا في الشارع، لسه الدنيا بدري، وطبعا احنا يعني مش هنركب لانه فيش مواصلات، لسه بالطريق. شوف الدمار اللي في غزة، يعني لازم تكون منطقة يكون فيها دمار. شوف هاينا في الطريق، شوف الدمار. هاي صوب الشاحنة، هنا اجينا بالشاحنة الأولى وفرناها لمعسكر الشاطئ. هاي معنا رجل المياه خالد قداس.
صباح الخير يا مي، كما عودناكم في مطبخ حسن غزة على الاستمرارية وتوصيل المياه للنازحين، قمنا اليوم بتوصيل هذه المياه. شكرا.
هينا اجينا نعبي مية لتكية عمر. صباح الخير يا عمر.
الله يسعد صباحك يا مي.
يا عمر وزع اليوم، كيف كان عندك اليوم التوزيع يا عمر؟
طبعا لآخر حبة رز يا مي احنا وزعنا اليوم الحمد لله، قدرنا نوفر او نطعم اكثر من 85% من الناس اللي النازحين اللي موجودين هنا في داخل وخارج مراكز الإيواء.
رايحين على المحطة نعبي الشحنة الثانية. هاي معنا عمر. مصطفى أنا طبعا نعبي الشحنة الثانية. خلصنا مبادرتنا للماء وجينا اليوم عند الشيف أمانة. يعطيك العافية شيف أمانة.
الله يعافيك يا مي.
إيش اليوم عاملة لنا؟
اليوم عاملين مجدرة مع الصوص.
مجدرة. جينا كمان نزور تكية رانيا.
واليوم طبختنا.
صباح الخير يا رانيا.
صباح الأنوار يا مي.
كيف حالك؟
الحمد لله تمام. اليوم طبختنا رز أصفر لأهالي مخيمنا الكرام. شكرا كثير.
شكرا. أماني ماشيين في الشارع، خلصنا شغلنا ومروحين على الدار. كيف يا أماني اليوم كان؟
اليوم يا مي حلو كثير.
أكيد طبعا عشان أنا
طبعا
جيت. صح. طبعا أماني عندها وصلت. هاي معنا تهاني كمان.
مبسوطين كثير انه خلصنا اليوم طريق وطعمينا النازحين.
أكيد أكيد. كان الشغل اليوم يا شيف أماني؟
اليوم كان حلو كثير 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 يا مي، بوجود مصورنا المبدع عبد الله، وبحضورك طبعا يا مي مصورتنا الجميلة.
طبعا هاي اجت السيارة، هاي قلت متحركين على الفعالية، رح نوزع غريبة حلب على الأطفال ونبسطهم، وحنشوف شو رح يصير معنا. هاي طبعا السيارة. هينا طبعا جبنا الحلويات اللي حنوزعهم على أطفالنا. هاي تعرف الحمار. إن شاء الله رح نفرح فيهم الصغار. طبعا في المدرسة، مدرسة طبعا تحولت لمأوى ناس، والناس كلها ساكنة في المدارس. هاي نحن طبعا في المدرسة. هلأت رح نروح نوزع على الأطفال حلويات. مرت عمي بتلبس في السديري عشان تتجهز للشغل. هاي جيت أنا على المدرسة وهاي الصغار كلهم بيستنوني. اليوم بدنا نوزع حلويات عليكم، بتحبوا الحلويات؟ كثير؟ لهم كل الحب.
اجوا علينا.
أنا وعمر رايحين نوزع على المدرسة. يعطيك العافية يا حجة.
الله يعافيك يا بنتي.
إن شاء الله انبسطت في جيتنا.
الحمد لله. الله يعافيك ولا يرضيك، جبتوا لنا الاشي اللي احنا زمان نفسنا فيه. الله يحنن عليكم
صحة وعافية.
ويذكركم ربي في الملأ الأعلى. شكرا لكم، انتوا جبتوا لنا الحاجات الحلوة اللي زيكم. الله يعطيكم ويحنن عليكم ويرضى عنا وعنكم.
صحة وعافية يا حجة.
ألف شكر لكم يا بنتي.
كيف انت كانت فعالية اليوم؟
والله الحمد لله، ربنا وفقنا وصحتين وعافية، كل الأطفال انبسطوا وبارك الله فيكم. مشكورين جميعا، شكرا للجميع، كل الحب لابن أبو زيد.
طبعا هي ست ركبت السيارة وخلصنا لليوم فعاليتنا، كانت كتير حلوة والأطفال كتير انبسطوا. أوريكم اليوم كمية الخيام اللي موجودة في غزة. هذه طبعا منطقة البحر، كل هذه الخيام الناس بتعيش فيها لأنه ما فيش لهم مأوى ولا دار. يعني صراحة الله يعينهم بالشمس. شوفوا كل هذه خيام في غزة. هينا رايحين على النقطة الطبية وفيش مواصلات نركب. هاي معنا محمد. يعطيك العافية محمد.
الله يعافيك. متواجدين هنا على النقطة الطبية برغم كل الظروف الصعبة اللي نواجهها في عملنا وقلة المواصلات،
إلا أننا مستمرين في كتير غزة الخيرية.
طبعا إنه ساعة بنمشي ومش لاقيين مواصلات لأنه فيش سولار في غزة.
وشوف
السولار أغلى إشي في غزة كان عندنا.
درجة الحرارة عالية اليوم بس بيتعب مستمرين.
جينا اليوم نزور النقطة الطبية مع الدكتور ماهر. كيف حالك يا دكتور؟
الله يبارك فيك يا عبد الله وسهلا حياك الله يا عم علي مراحب. زي ما انتم شايفين احنا في النقطة الطبية المجانية التابعة لجازا سوب كيتشن في شمال غزة. الطفل هذا بيعاني من انحناء في الرقبة الجانبي وبنعمل له علاج طبيعي بهذا الشكل عشان تعدل رقبته.
طبعا هنا بقيسوا لسوء التغذية مع الدكتور طه. يعطيك العافية.
الله يعافيك. طبعا اليوم استقبلنا اليونيسف في النقطة التطبيقية المجانية في مدينة غزة. بنقيس إن شاء الله للأطفال وبنعطيهم مكملات غذائية.
يعطيك العافية. هاي طبعا الأدوية المتوفرة في النقطة الطبية. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام، اهلا وسهلا. هذا الطفل اسمه زيد احمد خارج عن الوضع. هذا الطفل بيعاني من سوء التغذيه من قله الاكل والفواكه والاشياء الموجوده من الحصار اللي عملوا فينا اليهود. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. يعني سوء التغذيه حاد ابني ووصل لمرحله الخطر، يعني لما نكمل علينا نجي نستلم من هاي، وهي ان شاء الله بصير في تحسن. وقله الاكل هي بتعمل في الاطفال هيك، احيانا بتوصل لحالات وفاه. كثير عندنا من سوء التغذيه وقله الاكل اطفال بيصلوا لحالات الوفاه. يعني انا ابني لو اني بجريش فيه وبسعى فيه لنكمل هذه الزبده الحمراء، لا انا ابني في سوء تغذيه كان بعيد الشر توفى او نايمه فيه في المستشفى. هذا بده اكل وبده شرب وبده مصاريف. وصلونا اليهود هيك، حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل على كان السبب.
شعين الله. الف سلام عليك.
الله يسلمك. الله يديك.
صباح الخير يا رانيا.
صباح النور يا مي. هجيت احنا في طريقنا لتكلفنا معسكر البحر.
هنا في الطريق على كرة الحمار.
حصان.
هيا معنا كمان مهرة. فيش احنا سيارة. احنا خلص هذه اشهر اشي صارت عندنا في غزة. ايش احنا وصلنا؟ عن جد هينا وصلنا مكان التكية مصران. هاي بلشوا توزيع التكية. شوف كمية الناس اللي جاية تاخذ اليوم التكية لمعسكر البحر. شوف نكمل يومنا. هنروح اليوم عند المصفى الثوم. شريت مية ساقعة تقريبا حق الكيس $2 في غزة. هو بصراحة أرخص إشي بغزة يعني. لقيت راح نروح اليوم في عنا حصة عند المصفى الثوم. طبعا المصفى الثوم بتعطي حصص يوميا للأطفال لأنه فيش هان عنا تعليم في غزة. ويعني إحنا رغم إنه فيش تعليم لكن إحنا نعطي دروس للأطفال. وطبعا مستمرين بتعليمهم ويا رب يعني إنه نتخلص الحرب عنا ونرجع زي مخنا. طبعا رحنا هناك عند المصفى الثوم بس حكولنا انه اليوم ما فيش حصة عشان مهددين المنطقة اللي هم فيها. يعني اليهود معطينهم اخلاء. هاي زي ما تشوفين الوضع كتير صاير عندنا هنا في غزة. وهاي طبعا صوت الموسيقى تاع اللي من الاحتلال دايما. السنانة اللي دايما فوق راسنا ما بتروحش. هاي هنا طبعا المكان كتير زحمة. ان شاء الله راح نروح الإخلاء وراح نضلنا نعطي حصص وإن شاء الله لو طولنا معنا حصص إن شاء الله نروح نغير المكان هنا للأطفال ونروح على مكان تاني عشان نضلنا نعطي الأطفال تعليم أكتر إن شاء الله. هيني أنا بالطريق هجيت هعاود أرجع أروح مشي لأنه فيش مواصلات في غزة كتير 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 صعبة. راح نروح إن شاء الله بيوم ثاني على المصفى الثوم إنه ما يكونش في خوف في المنطقة إن شاء الله.
على فكرة
اليوم هنزرع الأمل ونوزع كتير أشياء حلوة على أهالينا في قطاع غزة. خليكم معنا.
أهم شيء إنه إحنا دائما بنحاول نزرع الابتسامة ونرسمها على وجه الكل، على وجه العمال. يعني اليوم بالنسبة لنا عن جد كأنه عيد. لدرجة رانيا راح اشتريت وعاء جديدة عشان تيجي الشغل.
أنا بالخزة حشخص بعيد عن النار. اليوم ده بوزع طرود وأشوف ناس كثيرة ونشوف سعادات كثيرة.
اليوم في أجواء كتير حلوة حتكون. شوفوا كمية الأصناف اللي هان.
عشان تعرفوا انه مطبخ حساء غزة مش مطبخ عادي ولا مطبخ تقليدي، مطبخ بحاول يوصل رسالة للعالم ويزرع الامل في شعب غزة المنكوب.
يحكي لأهلنا بغزة انه هم مش لحالهم وانه احنا معهم.
اليوم تعالوا نوريكم على المكان. شوفوا ورايا هلا رح يتم تعبئة الطرود. يعني اليوم رح يكون كتير يوم حلو عنا، يعني يوم مفتوح عنا في الجازا سوب كيتشن اليوم. ولسه مستمر الفريق بتجهيز الطرود. شوفوا يعني اليوم احنا يعني كتير طرود عاملين، مئات الطرود. هاي طبعا رانيا، هاي خالد. هاي فريقنا مكمل شغل. لسه طبعا مستمرين، بس احنا طبعا ما خلصناش، لسه في يعني مهرجان اليوم كبير.
على عهدي على ديني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني.
شكله مي نسيت الشغل تماما، حتى نسيت الفلوجات والتهت مع الصغار. تعال نشوف شو وضع مي. يعني ما كنتش اعرف انه مي بصراحة بداخلها طفلة، طلعت مي بداخلها طفلة.
Leena is one of those spicy people, you know, she's amazing. She talks back, she cracks jokes. She's a young woman who's just amazing with the camera and has a good eye for things. She's giving you like good stories, because oftentimes, how many times can you photograph a pot of faras or a pot of soup? You know, you have to really get in the story, focus on the cooks, focus on the people you help, and they also get bored. So they try to challenge themselves. And Leena, a couple of days ago, she took pictures and she said, just, you know, I'm doing this for free, but I got into it and I just wanted to send you this video. It was a beautiful video.
صباح الخير، أنا لينا، واليوم راح أخذكم معي بجولة في مطبخ حساء غزة فرع المينا. راح أورجيكم كيف يومنا ببلش. طبعا ركبنا في السيارة وجينا ناخد خشب لحتى للنار، وبعدها راح نجيب الأغراض ونروح على المينا، فخليكم معنا. وهيك بنكون وصلنا للمينا. عشان نبلش شغلنا. ومعنا الشيف سماح. شيف سماح صباح الخير.
صباح الخير يا لينا.
كيف يومكم؟
يوم جديد إن شاء الله مع مطبخ حسا غزة من المينا، واليوم إن شاء الله رح نعمل وجبة المجدرة.
يلا
على خير.
نعرفكم بالفريق. طبعا صباح الخير.
صباح الخير
شيف سماح. صباح الخير.
صباح الخير يا لينا.
شو مجهزة لنا اليوم؟
اليوم بدنا نعمل إن شاء الله رومانية. هينا بنقطع الباذنجان وجهزنا العدس هيو على النار زي ما انت شايفة.
يوسف صباح الخير. صباح النور. يوسف طبعا ابن الشيف سماح وأحد أعضاء الفريق. طبعا الحاج أبو رأفت زوج الشيف سماح برضه والمساعد. صباح الخير.
صباح الخير يا لولو.
طبعا بلشنا يومنا ويوسف بجهز الطاولة. صباح الخير يا يوسف.
صباح الخير يا لينا.
ايش عاملين لنا اليوم؟
اليوم ان شاء الله مجدرة لينا.
كيف الهمة؟
الهمة ان شاء الله عالية.
تمام. طبعا لسه ما بلشنا طبيخ والناس لسه بتستنى والأطفال قاعدين. صباح الخير يا حلوين.
صباح النور.
يا هلا. صباح الخير يا حاج.
الله يبارك فيك، الله يحفظك. صباح النور.
كيف حالك يا حلوة؟
الله يسلمك.
ايش اسمك؟
غزل.
من وين انت يا غزل؟
من السلاطين.
لا يعني من عندي. انا من السلاطين برضه. من دار ايش؟
سلطان.
من دار السلطان. اهلا وسهلا. ليش جايه بدري اليوم على التكيه؟
عشان نسلم هي ما تدعش علينا.
ايش نفسك هلقيت انت؟
نفسنا نرجع عدونا ونلعب مع صحباتنا ويعني نشوف وضع نشوف بلدنا.
مش نضلنا مهجرين زي
مش نضلنا مهجرين زي هيك ندل التكيات. والله ما عملنا ندلنا التكيات زي هيك.
طبعا يا جماعة أهل المخيم مش مبطلين شاي وقهوة. يعني أول حاجة عملوا لنا شاي.
يعني أهل بيت الله أهل الكرم صراحة. يعني
صراحة وطبعا يوسف جهز لنا الشاي عشان نشرب شاي الصباح واحنا بنشتغل. ايوه يوسف يلا صب الشاي. حليته؟ اوه اجواء الصباح. اوه صباح الخير يا حجة.
يسعدها الصباح.
كيف حالك؟
يسلمها يا اختي يسعدها.
الله يسعدك حجة. مالك جاية بدر اليوم؟
بدهم ياكلوا ولا ايش نسوي ابني؟
ان شاء الله ربنا يفرجها.
ان شاء الله يفرجها.
حجة ايش حابة تحكي لنا؟
اللي بدك اياه. والله انا بشكركم واللي بتطعموا الصغار والكبار. والله انجاز كبير هذا.
الله يسعدك.
وان شاء الله تظلكم دايمين وسلمين.
صحتين وعافية يا حج.
صحة بدالك.
ادعي لنا امانة.
يا رب ينصرنا كمان.
يا رب.
يا رب تنصرنا على اليهود.
يا رب.
هجدونا من دورنا الله لا يجبرهم.
حسبي الله. وهيك بنكون جهزنا أكلة مجدرة لليوم وجاهزين للتوزيع. عجبة.
الله يعافيك.
أخذتك إياه؟ إيش اسمك؟ إيش؟
عداي.
مبسوط يا عداي؟ طب يلا باي.
هذه اثنين.
صعب حاجة في الشغل مشوارنا واحنا مروحين بالشمس. صراحة درجة الحرارة مرتفعة اليوم واحنا ماشيين عشان نلاقي مواصلة نروح. ووصلت لآخر مرحلة في اليوم وهي ان انا افتح نت عشان اعمل الشغل وابعته. فانا بحب على السريع اقعد مع بحر غزة احمل فيديوهاتي وابعت شغلي بعدين اروح.
Khaled is just a fabulous human being. He's just one of those Palestinians from Gaza who grew up outside Gaza and came in like in the summer of 2023, had an easy life growing up in the Emirates. Then he stuck in Gaza during the genocide and just got trapped, can go anywhere, and he helps us tell stories. If I have a creative video project, like, hey, Khaled, can you do these 4 videos together? He will do it. And everything with Khaled is like an art project. Like, Khaled, I don't need you to be for 5 days. This is a 2-day thing. You do it. And he says, okay, don't get mad. And he gets it done. But Khaled is also very tender. So he's able to elevate our work. So I like him to do customer service if we needed somebody. Like, he's very patient. I actually want to show you this picture that came in today. So sometimes the team, they just hang out. This is Khaled. He just sent me this picture with our colleague Khaled Qadas. So they're becoming friends. And because the team is big, not everybody have to fall in love with each other, but sometimes they do. Khaled is the sugar, that people like, yeah, okay, this is good. You joke about Khaled, like his phone couldn't work anymore. So it blew up, khalas, and he couldn't fix it. He paid like $200, $300, couldn't fix it, haram. He went to go buy a phone and they said, sorry, the phone is $5,000. And he said, hey, we don't have that kind of money. So he's using his little sister's phone and he bargained with her, which she says, if you want to use my phone, you have to get me to work one day. So I hear these stories, that chapter, and it's good for them. Sometimes I just call them and let them speak, and that's key when I have the bandwidth.
يعطيكم العافية. معكم خالد قداس من معسكر البحر. اليوم مي جات تستضيفنا في المقابلة، بس أنا اللي بتكلم. ليه مش عارف، ابن عمي برضو بيشرب، رفع المج غطى الكاميرا. شكرا لك، بس عادي يعني احنا الحمد لله معروفين بعفويتنا. معكم الشيف رانيا ومي، هي اللي هتستضيفنا بس أنا اللي هتكلم كثير اليوم. ليه؟ لأنه بتكلم كثير. عموما في تركيا هان نحن بنشتغل بقرب البحر. شو يعني بقرب البحر؟ يعني جنب الزوارق. جنب الزوارق.
احنا هذا المخيم بطل على البحر، لما الزوارق البحريه تبعت الاحتلال بتمر بنشوفها، وساعات بيبقى في صوت طخ. قريبين من منطقه المساعدات الانسانيه ذكيه. طبعا احنا بنسمع صوت الشاحنات وهي جايه، وبنشوف الناس هي بتجري على المساعدات. بدايات المطبخ غزه، هذا المطبخ بعني لي كثير. صراحه ممتنه جدا اني بلشت اشتغل في المطبخ وبلشنا نطعم الناس. هنا قد ما بنقدر احنا بنخفف من معاناة الناس، حتى لو بقدر بسيط، حتى لو بنبلشها من طرد غذائي بسيط لحد طبخة كبيرة. أنا كثير ممتنة لمطبخ حساء غزة، يعني كثير، يعني أنا صراحة
علمها الطبخ صحيح.
قصائد كبيرة بوفر
علمها الطبخ وصرنا نقولها شيف.
كاسة الشاي
للأسف لا.
كانت بس صارت شيف. لا صارت شيف، صارت
شيف. لابن عمي.
يلا
والله انا شيف راني بعرف اطبخ، هذول المصرين يطلعوني انه
لا كنتي بس الحين لا، الحمد لله. وروهم انه احنا بمطبخ غزه بنحب بعض، ليه بنتخانق؟ على فكره اكلها خرافي، بس بعد ما تعلمت. احلى شيء ما اقول لكم سر عن رانيا، انا اسف شيف رانيا، ما انه احنا فريق مفروض ما اقولش هيك، ولكن ما نطبخ طبخه صعبه لازم تمسك الجوال، تتصل على امها وتاخذ الخطوات خطوه بخطوه.
ما هي امي الشيف الكبير، يعني امي فنانه في الطبيخ، انا بلشت طبيخ.
شيف اماني صح،
انا بنت الشيف اماني، وبعدين امي ممتازه بكثير بالطبيخ.
يعني
كل
خطوه
يعني.
يا ماما حطيت
لا مش
ليش يلا حطيتي المفروض كذا قبل كذا.
ما فريق متعاون، احنا عاملين كل جهودنا انه حدش يشتغل معنا.
عفويين، نحن عفويين. يعني رغم كل الاشياء اللي بتصير في غزه، رغم الدمار، رغم الصعوبات، رغم التحديات اللي احنا قاعدين ناخذها، ولكن عن جد بنيجي الاشي اللي تعلمناه في مطبخ حساء غزة، كيف تعلمنا نبتسم رغم كل اشي. يعني ممكن احنا بنشوف اطفال زعلانين، برضو بنحاول نبتسم عشان نوريهم انه الابتسامة شيء مهم، رغم الظروف، رغم الدمار، رغم كل هذا برضو الابتسامة موجودة. ابن عمي بيقول اسكت بلشنا.
لا زكفوني.
شكرا لكم.
هي طبعا انا وبنت عمي.
وانا
وانت.
خلاص الكوتشينو.
Omar is the youngest in our crew. He's 14 years old. He's Chef Mahmoud's son. And we've managed to get an advanced iPhone to Chef Mahmoud in a complicated version. And that phone is with Omar now, and he connects with his dad through that phone. He thinks that's sort of like, it used to be his father's phone, and now he's taking videos and photos and really getting some good clear photos. He establishes sequences. He helps with the water. And I told him, we love your photos, and he loves to hear this. I joke now he has an agent now because he's so good at this. Remember, Dr. Yet, this is a distraction for all of them. It is not just like a mean to get $30 a day or something like that. This is a distraction. And also it's a way for them to, should Israel, God forbid, target any of them, people will know that they've done the right thing and they'll help their community. And it's sad. You talk about people who barely lived, Mai and Omar and all these young people. They want to document the genocide. Sometimes they would be driving from one location to another and they say, here, watch this. Or there was a time where Omar captured an airdrop of aid. It was a very beautiful story. He's getting into this. And I think as Palestinians, the best thing we can do is invest in our storytellers, because the other side have many production companies and millions of dollars, but we have real stories. And, I hope people in Gaza write books about the little details. There is competition in a way that, everybody wants to be the better photographer, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they have a bad day. There's times where the photographer, for example, like, hey, can you focus on this? Or can you clean the lens before you take photos? Or can you find a better light? We've talked to folks like that. We've had a nurse who we no longer needed as a nurse, and he cooks with us. We've had somebody who did teacher, and now she's monitoring negative comments if she spoke by the Sayo trolls. So there's definitely a team vibe.
لك 5 مرة again. طبعا احنا بنعيد كثير، مش عشان احنا فاشلين، بس احنا الجروب عشوائي جدا.
شوفوا ياسر.
عندنا الشيف ياسر او مسؤول الفريق. طبعا حابين نعرفكم على واحد. عندنا ياسر مخلص IT، تعرف على الرز، ولكن تعرف على الرز. يا الله النرجسية اللي احنا فينا.
هذا الرز طبعا طبخه ياسر والشيف رانيا
مع بعض، فريق واحد. الحمد لله. بس رانيا حطت السيرج والماجي والبهارات. الحلو بفريقنا في مطبخ حساء غزة انه الحمد لله كلنا مخلصين تخصصات، كلنا دارسين، كلنا
انا لسه ما لحقتش درست
وانا لسه بدرس لانه احنا متطوعين بمطبخ حساء غزة الحمد لله والشكر. في عندنا ياسر خلص IT، عندنا الشيف رانيا مخلصة
تسويق بمعدل 3
كل شيء باختصار
وعندنا طبعا تعالوا نوريكم برضه عندنا الشيف محترم.
هاي المرة المليون
شيف أحمد مخلص تمرين زميل عمل. بس طبعا فرق إني أنا ممرض جبار الحمد لله، لدرجة بعرف شو دق إبرة وهو ما شاء الله محترف.
ليش إحنا يوميا بنعمل فعاليات الخارج؟
نحن حساء غزة مش فعاليات وبس، نحن مش مقتصرين على الأكل وبس. نحن عندنا 10 مطابخ في مطبخ حساء غزة نحو الشمال، 10 مطابخ في الشمال. طبعا غير عندنا 5 شحون تقريبا ميه نظيفه بنوزعها، ميه حلوه. في عندنا طبعا ميه مفلتره. في عندنا طبعا بنوزع طبعا وجبات على المرضى والكوادر الطبيه في المستشفيات في الشمال. اهم شيء ما ننساهم ندعيهم. غير طبعا نقطه طبيه، نقطه تعليميه للاطفال عشان ما يفقدوا تعليمهم والاساسيات، وغير الفعاليات الحلوه اللي بيعملها مطبخ حساء غزه للاطفال وللكبار. احنا بنهتم بالكبار والنسوان قبل الصغار والصغار قبل الكبار.
هاي صقر، كيف حالك يا صقر؟ هذا طبعا صاحب خالد، وكثير هو بحب خالد مصور.
صقر بدك تاكل اليوم رز؟
تاكل اليوم يا صقر رز؟
مش عارف ليه الاطفال فجاه صاروا كلهم بيستحوا. عموما صقر هذا من الاطفال اللي دائما بيجي عندنا، دائما بعبي له، دائما هو مروح بيعمل لي. كيف تعمل لي دائما بس تعبي.
طبعا بعد ما نعمل كل شيء ايش نعمل يا رانيا؟ بعد كل شيء نسكافيه كابتشينو للعمال كلهم. هذا طبعا جديد نزل عندنا في غزة، فيش احنا كان عندنا قبل. بعمل لك من بعيد. هاي طبعا الرز اللي بدنا نحطه. وين يا رانيا؟ اللي اليوم بدنا نحمر الرز. هاي طبعا خالد مش عارفه ايش يعمل.
صورت ايش عامل من هيك؟ ايش فيه؟
بشتغل بتعب.
خلص يا الله، حقد مصورين على بعض.
بالضبط،
حقد انا ملاحظه.
ولا زي ما محمد كان
بتاخذ خالد وتصير يصور بداله.
حرام عليك،
هذا كله عشان
هذا برضه بيطلع مني.
هذا كله عشان جبنا لها ظرف نسكافيه.
كمان اليوم مضيفيني نسكافيه.
دخل على القطاع
ايش جديد هذا؟
بعد 5 شهور حنوا علينا.
هاي معنا من محمد.
افضح واقول جبنا ماج من دارنا
وماج
هذا طبعا شحناه من بيت خالد.
متصلين لي من الصبح جيب معك
ماشيين بالحب هنا عشان يعني اليوم معطين عز كتير.
تخبيه معك خبينا الدار بسرعة.
We have a photographer at the medical point. She's not one of our photographers. Her father gave us the space and he said, hey, by the way, my daughter can take pictures for you there. So she's with us. Her pictures are amazing. And I've been advocating for more women photographers, honestly, because it puts everybody at ease, especially that our team is big about being co-ed. We have to have men and women because it makes the team better. Genuinely, it makes the team better and also gives other women comfort. Like, hey, if she cannot talk to Khaled, she can talk to Mai. They're accessible. They're always there to help as much as we can. It's never perfect. Remember, this is a genocide, but we're trying to give priority to this. We focus on the kids as much as we can, and that helps preserve the dignity of the grown-ups because kids give you hope. You see the need. They don't have any filters. We do ask our staff members not to, touch kids or anything like that. That's really key for us. With our photographers, there's guidelines that we provide to them. One of them is to not take pictures of people without announcing that you will take pictures. And people remove themselves if they want to be on camera. I tell them if the person doesn't feel it, don't make them take photo, right? So sometimes people say like, yeah, take my photo, but then like they're frowning. Like, I don't want that. Like, even if I ask them for permission, it doesn't look like they want to be in the photo. And I don't blame them. It's the genocide, but also we do not want to make it seem we're forcing people to take photos. There's also aspect of safety, especially in Gaza City now. We're careful what we share. You see the patient, but we put the sign in front of their face and just show you that somebody's at the hospital. Because, we do not want to be part of the intelligence gathering operation by the IDF. You can assume they know everything, but we do not want to be a second source or a third source for them. We rarely show women. It's a big deal for us not to go out of our way to do that. Some of our videos show that. That's all right. Some people actually ask us. Some people send their kids to the soup kitchen and they want their kids to be seen. Like, hey, here's a picture. And they dress nice. And that drives the genocide people crazy. In Gaza, especially, when somebody takes the photo, it says I exist. But also, Dr. Ed, a lot of times, people get help because they get seen. Some terms like, where he had a mom with an underweight baby, she made an appeal, and then the next day somebody sent her a gift or something like that. Or somebody who needed medical evacuation that got seen in our photos and then was found by another group that got the medical evacuation. There's always that hope from these photos on behalf of the people who agreed to them. Sometimes we take these little details, but that's how people make careers, to capture these little minute details in life and the disruption, whether it's the experience of a woman who can't find sanitary pad, or a dad who can't find the answer in medicine, or a grandma who is not able to move from A to B, or the person who was saving seeds for the plants and the Israelis bombed it, or our relative, Ahmed Almadhoun, who went to rescue Hind Rajab. Yusuf Zermo and Ahmed Almadhoun, they were the ambulance drivers that Israel killed, the same team that killed Hind Rajab, as members of our family. So I hope we tell these stories, and I know that this is important, but one or two production companies or publishing houses are not enough. And we really have to preserve this. And I think, in a way, and this, we never shy away from talking to the media despite the risks or despite like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're talking about your brother. Some Palestinians were like, no. They will say he's Hamas. We want to respond in kind. And we feel fortunate to have organizations in our space like IMEU or Rethink Media or others, or Just Vision, who focus on the storytelling. This podcast is another way to tell our stories and bring in new audience, because sometimes you need to make them aware. And that's part of the narrative change. And when the truth is in your side, you don't have to spend $1 million running digital ads. No, people find us. You spend money to go buy TikTok because our story trend and they're real. And that scares them.
So these storytellers on the ground, and again, after watching all of the footage, Hani, I don't understand how they wake up every day with a smile on their face, turning the camera on, showing everything that is happening. Where are they getting that courage, that energy? I'm not even sure what to call it, to stand up and do this.
Look, all of them are suffering. All of them are struggling, and they want the genocide to end, and they want a ceasefire. They're tired. They're not eating right. They're not sleeping right. They're sleeping in the streets. So I want to acknowledge that's the real dark world where they exist. This is the underbelly of the Israeli society, the pain they're inflicting on the Palestinians in Gaza, including our storytellers. I noticed that our photographers love a little compliment. Like if I put a little heart in a video, it makes their day. I tell people we are a photographer group, like, hey, send them a note, send them something. And they're fortunate enough, we have a gentleman in Austin who sends them a little bit like, hey, I'm going to give everyone who works for you $100. Makes their day, they have a feast, they hang out. I think there's a sense of camaraderie. We have different teams. We have about 65 people working for us, and there's camaraderie among the team, a sense of belonging and purpose. And I think when Khaled wears the vest, he becomes part of a team, and he feels seen. Oftentimes they're like, yeah, mention me, tag me here. And I do. I like to engage them because they want to be seen. And I always do the same thing. Like, I see you. Like, I'm not just working, you're not just an instrument in a big machine. We do that a lot. I promise them, after the genocides end, we will be together and do some work, and we will even compensate them some more for the risks they take. We also warn them that this work is dangerous. But it would be silly for me in Virginia to tell people who are living this, like, hey, don't do X, Y, and Z. People still have their agency. Look, this is hard work. You're dealing with a community that's being genocided. And sometimes we do not give enough emphasis to mental health. One of our photographers, Ehab, he was shot in the leg as he was filming. And he sent me a video from the hospital bleeding and saying, we're resilient, we're going to be here, I'll be back. And I was like, of course he will be. Of course, and he thought he's going to be out of a job because of this. And we said, no. I called the team. I said, give him a little bit more money, give him a week. And he's now filming at the hospital with our hospital team. Today they gave away olive oil, but tomorrow they may give diapers. And they capture these stories. In fact, Hasan has been instrumental in showing these acute malnourished kids in the hospital. Because you know how the Israelis say this is AI, this is fake, this is Hollywood. We showed them these things, not because I want them to see it, because I want to show that the people who are persuadable. So like, hey, look at this. This is real people. Here is this person. We were fortunate that we emphasized the storytelling aspect of the Gaza Soup Kitchen. Many of my Palestinian American friends have operations like ours, but again, they did not do the logo. They did not hire photographers. They've helped people. But after a while, you get tired, because what happens is, I've heard this from Ralph Nader. He would say, the Europeans say, without change, without people, change is not possible. But without institutions, that change wouldn't last. So that's the distinction between us and the mutual aid, is we built an institution while we do our full-time jobs, while we grieve, while we talk to the media, while we protest, while we talk to members of Congress. So that's the key. Also, we need to build the institutions who are able to do this. But also, I do not want to neglect the donors who give us their faith and confidence in our work, who see the value of our works. We rarely ask people for money, not because we do want it, we put it to work, but because our stories, our Instagram account is basically our calling card. You and I sometimes get frustrated, I think, with organizations. We're on the ground, come for Gaza, we're bringing this influencer. Come on, but I look at their feed and say like, whoa, last update was a month ago. Gaza is not the same. So we just have to hourly produce these things. That's real. Stories from Gaza. Sometimes we guide some of these narratives. For example, if they show food, the Zionists will be like, oh my gosh, there's food. You will see like a food item that's made in Al-Khalil, but it has Hebrew in it. And they say, look, we're giving you food. We've been very careful about guarding those attacks even before they go.
As Palestinians know, education is resistance. Join us at the School of Radical Imagination, where community-based learning turns knowledge into action. Starting this January, you can take courses like Capitalism versus Love with Dr. Laura Basu, or Embodying Liberation with friend of the podcast, Ashira Darwish. Learn more and register at radicalimagination.school.
Can you talk a little bit about their hopes and dreams? You have to imagine that they wanted to maybe be an engineer or an artist or whatever it may be, but now they're essentially called to action, called to duty to support their community and their people in Palestine and Gaza. What are their hopes and dreams?
So Khaled hopefully wants to go back to the Emirates where he was born and raised. Hopefully he will find a way. As you know, leaving Gaza is impossible right now. The only way to leave Gaza is vertically, unfortunately. Mai wants to go to school. Obviously, she was hoping to go to college, but she's actually a basketball player. She used to play with Siwar, my niece who was murdered. They used to be in the team. If you know her, she will send you photos from her basketball team. They're a good team. So she is more to that than just a photographer and a TikToker. Leena has a job now. We're always happy when people just graduate to something better. We love that. We all have hopes that some of them want to leave, go get education, get medical care. Some of them want to stay. Everybody pretty much lost their home.
Tell me about the stories that these individuals want the world to know. I mean, we can ask them as well, of course, but what's the message? Because do they realize that, though, for example, here, you and I, we're in the DC area, we're looking at our phones, you know, our eyes are wide open. We were like, wow, I mean, the resistance, the perseverance, the determination, but do they understand the impact that they're having here on us?
Yes.
And that they do. Okay.
And one metric for them is to see how much of their photos get engagement online. My picture is going places. Oh my gosh, people love this photo of mine. And that really gives them like something. They feel like, hey, people love my work and they improve their craft. And that's one metric. Yeah, that's one data point where you say like, hey, a story they filmed, people are engaging with. What they want the world to see is that they've suffered enough, they've lost enough. Sometimes a fish discovers water last. They are living in the thick of genocide. They may normalize crazy stuff like, hey, let's go chase after the water truck. Let's go stand in the line at the GHF or wait for a bag of flour. But it's all wrong. They may forget that it's not supposed to be this way, or they normalize being, oh, they're going to kick us out. They're going to start accepting things that I say. You and I know that these things are unacceptable, and we have two obligations. One, talk about suffering, amplify their voices, but also accept for them when they accept for themselves. Some people, keyboard warriors, are like, oh my gosh, oh no, don't accept this deal or not. I tell you, I hear you, but I think if the Palestinians in Gaza accept something, who am I to go and tell them, oh, you know, you can't, or make him feel bad? Unless I have a rescue plan. Amplify the messages and also educate the world about the bad actors. You know, that bad companies that hurt the Palestinians in ways we know and ways we don't, like these AI actors. They're going to probably be sued soon for their crimes in Gaza.
Can you tell us a little bit about the chefs, the ones that are actually doing the cooking?
Yeah, so Leena, our photographer, she films or takes photo for her mom, Chef Samah. So it's a family thing. They're comfortable with each other and they take photos. Sometimes we have the ultimate cooking authority is Chef Fatin. She is like the gold standard. And she's the person who's like elevating this, like, oh, why am I going to make pasta? No, I'm going to make eggplant stew. And she will make a way to find it. The next day, everybody else would be like, oh, I'm going to make the same thing. They sometimes bake things, but the majority of the food right now, they're making pastas or eggplants or potato stew. And remember, these things were contraband in June and July. They were like science fiction. Now they were brought in. Israel relaxed. Maybe one of their vendors made more money or they had access stuff, so they sold it to the Palestinians. So we cook. So the hot meals help the community the day, tomorrow, rinse and repeat. If they eat it or don't, because it's going to go bad. There's no refrigeration. The food parcel is a better way for us right now to help the community. The chefs always work under a tight budget, but also have to decide how many people they can work with and how many families. For example, Chef Fatin would be like, hey, you give me enough food to cook for 200 families, but there's 400 families. I need more. So they would lobby for the best of their community. Our teams usually have guys to do the lifting and the wood chopping and starting the fire. Something about guys like to start fires, but also the chefs who are more seasoned, pun intended. It was all about measuring everything and putting the right seasoning in place. And this makes a difference. Chef Abu Nashat Abu Sharikh is this cool, suave gentleman. He is older. He leans into his age. He's looking fine. He cooks. He delivers water for us. He's the mild-mannered person who solves problems and de-escalate. He is a source of guidance for many of our staff members or crew members. We go to him with their issues. He cooks. He has a good hand. People love him. The kids love him. And he was supposed to go to Hajj in 2023 and was promised to go, but he was denied because nobody was allowed to leave Gaza to go for Hajj. So that was really a big blow for him. He is living with his kids and his daughters, and he's one of those people that just the internet loves. Whenever we post his photos, I just love this man. And sometimes it's something from God, likability. But why we like him at the Gaza Soup Kitchen, he does the work. He's no drama. He's always protecting the name of the organization, making sure nobody leaves upset. Or, if they run out of food, he figures out a way around it. Sometimes he has some treats for the kids, all that stuff. So he's one of our go-to people. Right now, he is in charge of delivering 4 water trucks every morning. He's at Khan Yunis, which is the most south you can go. He also shows up at the kitchen. And when we do food boxes in Khan Yunis, he's always the first to be there. He's unafraid to do hard work, and we love that about him.
أنا شيف أبو نشأت أبو شرخ محمود حامد أبو شرخ من معسكر جباليا، بعمل لدى مطبخ غزة. هذه الفترة بشتغل فيها من تقريبا حوالي 2 سنين. انضمام لهذا العمل الخيري، هذا عمل خيري فقط لأهلنا النازحين وأهلنا الموجودين في قطاع غزة، لأنهم شعب محتاجين، شعب مشردين، شعب محاصرين، محتاجين للقمة عيش، لأنهم كانوا يقولوا لنا لا كهرباء، لا مية، لا أكل، لا أي شيء. حصرنا بكل شيء. لذلك هذا عمل خيري بنقدمه لأهلنا وأحبابنا النازحين من لقطاع غزة كله. الحرب دمار. مين بحب الحرب؟ نتمنى الحرب إنه ربنا سبحانه وتعالى نوقف هذه الحرب. الحرب دمار. إحنا طلاب سلام ومش معادين لأي إنسان، لكن سبحانه وتعالى ربنا هذا أراد هذا الشيء، وإحنا ما بنأيد الحرب، بنأيد السلام، والسلام في العالم كله. رسالتي للعالم إنه العالم عارفين الحقيقة، ولكن مش شايفين، مش متكلمين كلمة حق. العالم شايفين التلفزيون والصحافة محصورة، قتلوا الصحفيين، وما فيش أي صحافة عندنا تجينا بالمرة. الصحافة المحلية بتقتل كل الصحفيين أول بأول، والصحافة الأوروبية ممنوع يدخل أي واحد من برا من الصحافة الأوروبيين الأجانب، وهذا معروف للعالم كله. لكن ساكت، عالم ساكت، شايف الحقيقة وساكتين. بس الله سبحانه وتعالى إنه وقف لنا هذه الحرب ويصير السلام يعم في العالم كله، مش عنا على شعبنا المظلوم، وإنه الدول العربية تقف في جانب الحق، تقف مع اخوتهم المحاصرين المقتلين، الدماء والأطفال والشيوخ، كله بقتل، كله عملية حرب شامل علينا.
Abu Jawad, he is one of those people we got to the kitchen to make our food better. Abu Jawad is a professional chef, and we love working with him. He shows that he loves his work. He's actually a dabka master. When we moved locations from the beach camp where he was cooking with us, there was 2 weeks where everybody's trying to figure out where they're going to be situated. I tagged sometimes our team, and all of a sudden he has friends in Boston, Massachusetts, in Hawaii, in Ireland, and he just loves these connections because, like, here's a message chat, they can talk to a real person who sees their work. And I love that about him. I talked to him, I said, Abu Jawad, we love you, you're going to be back, but promise me one thing, no more GoFundMe pages to people. He said, okay, no problem. So he's back now and cooking, and he's a very patient man. He's not very loud, but I was very happy that he's reached out to me and he said, hey, Hani, I don't have work. And we talked. Remember these difficult conversations? And he got it. And I said, but in one condition, you have to make dabka videos. And he said, all the dabka you want. And then he was back on.
معك الشيف أحمد يوسف المدهون أبو جواد العمر 42 سنة. السبب انضمامي لحساء غزة لإطعام أهلنا في قطاع غزة. الصعوبات اللي بنواجهها في قطاع غزة قلة الموارد، لأنه المعابر كلها مسكرة وفيش إشي بدخل إلنا للمطبخ. يعني إحنا كل يوم بنعمل حساب إيش اليوم الثاني بدنا نطبخه، لأنه فيش إشي موجود في السوق. رسالتي للعالم، إحنا طلاب، إحنا أهل غزة، طلاب سلام، وبدنا نعيش بحرية وبنعيش بسلام زي باقي شعوب العالم.
Palestinians are dignified people. Look, people don't think about this. If you don't make a good meal for the Palestinians, or they think it's not clean, they're not going to eat it. Not just for ego, because the hospitals are overwhelmed. You could die from food poisoning in Gaza right now because it's all complicated and you're going to infect everybody or something, or a stomach bug or something like that. So it is really key for us to try harder. I respect everybody who's hustling in Gaza and doing things makeshift. That's good. But this does not rule out that there is a famine in Gaza. There is. And it's been documented. And I shared a picture of my nephew, Omar, Chef Omar. And I'm like, I don't recognize this guy anymore. He looks older than me. And I was there when he was born. Skeleton bodies, kids with twigs for arms. Obviously, not everybody is in the same famine level. Well, the issue is access to food. You know, if you're one of those trolls who see the photos, oh, there's no famine in Gaza. But the problem is access to food. People don't understand this. It doesn't mean that there's no famine if people have some honest, but can they access this? Can they go and risk their lives to go to the GHF side? Maybe they will be killed, or maybe they will have some flour for today. That's why, Dr. Ed, it's important we empower or protect organizations like UNRWA. It is the scale. Nobody else has it. It's either UNRWA, Dignified, or GHF. Get some aid and you're playing Russian roulette. You may get killed. We don't know. You may get a food box. So UNRWA is essential. We rally around it. We, the Soup Kitchen, we love bigger organizations, but as you know, there's limitations for political reasons. I hope these things change.
You spoke about legacy. And we would be remiss not to talk about Chef Mahmoud. I'm going to try to keep it together, not get emotional. You've shared his story. I do want the audience to hear again his legacy, what he meant to the Gaza Soup Kitchen, and ultimately what happened to him.
So before Chef Mahmoud, there was my brother Majid, who was killed in November 2023 with his family. And that was the first trauma in our family, in the sense, hey, this is our sibling. Now it is very personal. And then 2 weeks later, they come and abduct my brother Mahmoud, who later became Chef Mahmoud. We've documented his abduction. We've challenged the Israelis in the media, and they released him. 2 weeks later, they will come and abduct him again and release him again. And that's important because that tells you they have no interest in Mahmoud. So he's not somebody who's militant, combatant, or anything like that. And he's never was. He is just a dad, goofy dad who likes to cook and joke around. So he started the kitchen. It was his idea. And I was like, okay, we'll pay for it. No problem. And then I told him, if we ever have to close, I'll give you a week's notice and say, hey, the money is drying up. We're not going to leave it open. And then we're still open until now, 2 years into this genocide. And it's bittersweet. Nobody should be bragging about opening soup kitchens, because that's an inferior good than a situation that speaks volumes of the injustices and the food insecurities and the Israeli blockade of aid. Chef Mahmoud, the people in North Gaza, they know him really well because he was the last pot to stop boiling and the last door to close. He was sort of like the guy to go to if you needed help, food, water, sometimes medicine. He opened the medical point, he opened the school. Of course, Israel bombed the kitchen, bombed the school, bombed the clinic. And then later when he, in October 2024, when they came back for a third round of violence into North Gaza, he decided to stay put and not leave. It's not like we have other homes to leave to. That's the last shelter he had. and he sheltered with his family. He kept delivering food for Kamal Adwan Hospital and also documenting. This is the beauty of the photos, because Dr. Ed, what happened is a lot of charities are in Gaza on the ground, but fail to produce a receipt to show me that they're on the ground. We do hourly updates because we don't want to, trust me, I'm in Gaza. No. See, I'm in Gaza, see who's doing this work and all that. So we've documented these horrible times where even the Red Cross wasn't getting to Gaza City or to Mashrua Beit Lahia. So he kept cooking, and the moment he felt he could not cook, he arranged to get produce from Gaza to the hospital using the ambulances, full coordination with all the actors involved. And then the Israelis saw him. He goes to the hospital, gets food, and remember, they wanted to cut off the water already. So that's the first sign, we're coming to kick you out. And this allowed the food from moving in, and then you go for the hospitals. Once they come for the hospital, that's the final phase. You're ethnically cleansed. Congratulations. So that's sort of like we've learned that in the history. And we know the most dangerous place is to make sure the hospital is safe. Sadly, we are right now doing the same thing in Gaza City. We are getting food to the hospital, and we know that this is the last place where people feel they have a place of shelter. Imagine people are bleeding and injured, and doctors who work. So the Israelis did not like he was at the hospital at Kamal Adwan. And the morning he was supposed to walk to go to make sure the produce came. And Dr. Kusama Safir was expecting him. He walked about 30 feet from the house, and there was a drone, just special order, waiting and bombed him. So I've seen the footage. They're gory, they're bloody with the aftermath, and I do not want to ever share them because I want people to remember him. He is this defiant Palestinian who was like, Mustamireen, Ahbabi fi America, Ihna hina, we're doing this work. And that's the second blow to our family, because Majid died nameless, was killed nameless by the IDF, and then Mahmoud followed, and he was somebody. He's written an op-ed for the Washington Post. He's had millions of views in TikTok. People loved him. They befriended him in social media. They loved his uplifting messages, because we're all walking here and we see somebody in the belly of the beast, in the thick of this genocide, who's like, we got you. Anything you need, Asad al-Shamal is here for you. And he made a big difference. And in fact, the day he was killed, we know of about 50 families that moved because they knew, like, hey, if this guy was killed, they have no chance. And Israel succeeded in emptying. In a course of a week, everybody left Beit Lahia after his death. And Mahmoud is one of many amazing Palestinians who've done this kind of work in Beit Lahia or Mashrua Beit Lahia or Jabalia. But it is hard, because we talk about the power of photography and stories. He has a legacy of those. So it's very painful to go through that and the old videos and the messages. And he's saying, Dr. So-and-so, I love you for your support, or my friend Ahmed, or he had friends here, and not get emotional. You know, you see your little brother, I play the voice messages from him in WhatsApp. You think you're in control until a situation like that happens. But as you know, we press on, we continue to do his work. We could have stopped. Nobody under the sun would blame our family if we said, that's it, we've given enough. But it's one of the most powerful things we said to each other as a family. We said, people will still be hungry after Chef Mahmoud is gone. And we want to keep his legacy, because he was very defiant and getting aid to people, not fighting, not making political statements, just surviving. And that was a lot for the Israelis to handle. So they killed a guy that they've abducted twice just for fun, and they released him knowing that he has no priors, they have no interest in him. And they killed him. They're still investigating if they killed him or not. And that affects how we do the work in the Gaza Soup Kitchen after Mahmoud.
Hani, I'm going to speak for myself here. When I see you, I first just want to give you a hug, a big hug, and not let you go. But I know that may be weird, but I want to give you a hug when I see you. But two, there's a level of embarrassment that we're failing our people. And seeing what you're going through, what you're navigating through, I can't help but feel that we're not doing enough. And then I reflect on the video that I saw with the kids playing. And I think there was the guy doing the thing with the circle. I'm sure we'll show it on screen. And the kids clapping and cheering and being happy. And then I reflected a little bit more and I said, well, you know, we're doing this podcast, we're sharing your story, but Hani, we got to keep it real. That's not enough, right? That's not enough. What I'm doing is not enough. What else can I do to help you all?
Well, the moment I saw you at the DC Gaza 5K, I was like, this is my friend. We just became best friends. So right back at you, Dr. Ed. I'm a big fan of your work and also of your emphasis on storytelling. Yes, it might not be enough, but it is how we're going to change the world for the Palestinians. And this is how we're going to earn our place in this world. This is not by the sacrifices and resilience alone, by also talking about our people and the suffering. I do this work to honor the memory of my brothers. May they rest in peace. Genuinely, they're people who wanted to help solve hunger. They're like goof guys. They're funny. They're humans. They're not having to be the perfect victims, right? They're just knew how to solve a problem and they kept at it. And I want to keep that legacy going until we don't have to. What things we can do, there is more to the Gaza Soup Kitchen than cooking hot meals. We are in many conversations with people about different aspects we can make. I don't have to talk about the fight we had with GoFundMe to be listed and what other groups we got banned who were hurting the Palestinians. You have IDF soldiers showing themselves hurting Palestinians and raising money in platforms like GoFundMe. We have to always speak our truth. I might be suing some AI companies. There is a lot we're doing. We have to, spend our dollars where our values are. And that's important. That applies to all of us. We have to vote and show up to vote. This is key because our community assumes it's all rigged and we don't show up. I don't care. I just want you to show up, write your name, because people look at these statistics. When the Jewish Americans have 75% turnout for the vote, and the Catholics have 60%, at least here in Virginia, and the Muslims have 30%. If you can't be bothered to go vote, these people are not going to care about the issues that are important to you. So these are simple things, not just in the big election. Go to the local races. In Atlanta, they have a Muslim American Palestinian woman who's running for governor now, I think, or a Senate, I'm not sure. So we also need to run for office and center Palestinian voices. I cannot tell you how many times, Dr. Ed, I go to an event, we're like, for Gaza, and they're like, there is no actual Gazans or Palestinians. We exist. And that's really important. And it's not coming from ego. We're all busy and have stuff to do. But I want to remind people that, hey, we exist. We can talk about ourselves. I statements are very powerful. You can't say the Palestinians are suffering. They are. But you could say, hey, my family is suffering. Yeah. And I also challenge people. And this is where some people, it's food for thought. I just tell people to reclaim the American flag, right? We're Americans. We live here. And I do not want people who live outside this state see us as anti-American. We're equally American. In fact, we are trying to save American money by not sending it to kill our kids and our babies. I think it's $17 billion the U.S. government or more gave to Israel since October 7th. Think about the difference this stuff will make in D.C. Look, my brothers were murdered using American weapons. I know that. But also, there is more to America than just weapons, just like there is more to Palestinians than Gaza, and there is more to Palestinians than aid. So this comes from the heart, and everybody has their way to get there. I just have to share the story for as long as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Hani.
Listen, stay tuned, cause it's time for Sumud.